Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Hello and welcome to this episode of our show. This is your host, Keith Doherty. Today our special guest is top real estate agent Andrea Swetland of Vanguard Properties based out of San Francisco, California. Since becoming an agent in 1993, Andrea has been a constant top producer and leader in the highly competitive San Francisco Bay Area real estate market, including being ranked in the top 4% of all local agents in 2014 and 15 and ranked 783 out of 1,000 by Real Trends California in 2015 by volume. Her diligent, authentic, and thorough approach has consistently gained the trust of her clients, with over 90% of her business coming from repeat business and referrals. Andrea perpetually strives for new ways to better serve her clients. She is a proud member and supporter of the San Francisco Association of Realtors, the San Francisco chapter of Women's Council of Realtors, Top Agent Network, California Association of Realtors, National Association of Realtors, CRS, and the San Francisco Junior League. She has been featured as the cover for June 2016 of Top Agent Magazine, California, and has been on House Hunters and KGO Radio for real estate. All right, with all that said, Andrea, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Keith.
Andrea, if we could start for our listeners, what led you into real estate? Was it something that you always knew you wanted to do, or did you maybe stumble into it?
I had no clue what real estate was, honestly. My father owned property in San Francisco since I was little, but I had always lived with my mother, and we always rented. So I didn't even know what a real estate agent was for the longest time. But when I was 24, about 25 years ago, I was living in Hawaii for 6 months, and I answered an ad for a receptionist at the local RE/MAX. And I went in and I interviewed, and they hired myself, and they hired another lady to be a listing secretary. But she couldn't start for 2 weeks, so I did both jobs for those first 2 weeks. And by the time she came to the job, I was now the listing secretary, and she became the receptionist because it was just something that I really seemed to gel with. I really liked it. So when I moved back to San Francisco, I started studying for my real estate license, and I've been doing it ever since.
And can you talk a little bit about what personal attributes, traits, or qualities you think have most contributed to the success that you've had in real estate?
Well, I'm definitely a people person. It's amazing to me how many real estate agents out there don't like people. I know it's good money, but it doesn't make any sense if you don't like people. But I'm lucky enough that I do like people. I'm pretty tenacious. If you look at my profile, I'm a champion. That's my type. So I will leave no stone unturned to get a client a property if it's at all possible. And with a listing, it's important to follow up. So I follow up with agents who show it continuously until they basically tell me, okay, really, my client's not going to buy it. So I think those are two very important things. It's how the extra deals get done. The San Francisco market has been crazy. In 2015, to get a buyer into escrow was no small feat. And I was able to do 18. I closed 18 buyers in 2015, and it's just because I don't give up.
And Andrea, do you think you could give our listeners another example of when these traits have played a role in your path towards success?
Well, Keith, so I'm tenacious, right? And I'm also quite diligent. And there's a group called Top Agent Network in San Francisco where you have to be a verified top producer to join. On this website, agents bring on potential listings that they are just about to come on the market, sort of like a coming soon. Their clients are willing to at least have them share pictures or information about them. I'm on that site every day. I really work hard to make sure that I don't miss anything for a buyer because it's really important. Sometimes you don't have very much time to show a property to a buyer, have them feel comfortable with it before they have to put in an offer because, somebody else wants it. So any chance that I can get my client a little bit of a head start to feel better about a property, I take it. Last year I was lucky enough to see a property on that site. I actually got the client into the property. We put in an offer and ratified it all before the first open house. So having those relationships and just being able to not take no for an answer and dig a little deeper is very important. I don't give up. also. And I like to keep an eye on what the market is doing and go with the flow. That's really important as well. In September 2015, I had a listing, and we brought it on the market a little bit under a certain price, but about 4% under what the seller really wanted to get. And that's just has been the market in San Francisco, that you price just a little bit under. And I could see in the first week and a half that the market was being a little bit crazy, a little wonky. It wasn't as diehard as it had been the spring before. And so after about a week and a half of showing it, I said to the sellers, before we take offers, because here, at that time especially, you set up an offer date. I said, let's raise the price. Let's raise it to a little bit more than what you're willing to take, because if we don't, we could really get into trouble. And about a week later, we had an offer a little bit even over that price. So my clients were happy, the buyers were happy, because they knew what the buy it now price was, for lack of a better word. So, it's just really important to be diligent and to think about all the things that can go wrong and be on top of it for your clients.
And Andrea, I think, when anybody moves on a path towards success, there's always, potentially bumps in the road and issues along the way. Can you talk a little bit about some of the adversities and trials that you had to overcome in order to achieve your goals?
Oh, definitely. Well, if you met me, I'm a petite woman. I'm 4'11" and a half. And especially when I got into real estate, I was 26 years old. So even then, I looked even so much younger than 26. So people often mistook me for being a young girl who didn't know her stuff. The good thing was that I looked approachable. So even at open houses or when I met clients, I could make them feel at ease. And they would talk to me. It's kind of like humoring me, I think, to see what I would say. But luckily, once I started speaking, you could see that I knew what I was talking about, and I was passionate about what I did, and I knew my stuff. So I would say that many times clients were surprised by my knowledge and were happy that I could deal with them on that level, but yet at the same time I put them at ease from the get-go, So I would say definitely I didn't look like a real estate agent, which I guess is not a bad thing.
And Andrea, what kept you going despite these obstacles? Why didn't you give up? What was your driving force?
I really love what I do. I really, really do. I studied hotel restaurant management before I got into real estate because I wanted a job where I could be with people. I wanted to make a difference and make people happy. And I loved hotel management, but it was a crazy schedule. It was really long hours for very little pay. And I still work some crazy long hours, and I'm always on. But I don't know, it's different. I feel like for my clients, I help them reach a fantastic goal, which is owning a home, or for some people, even for the investors, they're not just investing because they're greedy. It's so that they can leave something for their children, or so that they can have a retirement somewhere down the line where they don't have to worry. And that means a lot to me. I think maybe because I grew up not having a quote-unquote home, as I mentioned. So, I don't know, I just always really wanted that for other people. And finding a home for someone or some kind of security through real estate means a lot to me.
And Andrea, I guess looking forward, what's your vision for your career and your business over the next 5 years?
That's a really good question, because it's been something that I've been thinking a lot about lately. I've been doing this for almost 23 years, and I love it, but I have kind of hit a wall in the last 2 or 3 years where I just can't do more than what I'm doing on my own. So I've been working on developing a team. I had 52 referrals in 2015, and that's a lot of referrals. And for me, taking care of each and every one of those referrals is the most important thing out there. So I still do what I love to do, which is I reach out to clients, I show listings, I work with buyers, but I'm slowly but surely giving up the organizational part of the business. After 23 years, I finally gave up in January managing my own files. I have never had a transaction coordinator in 23 years. You might call me a little bit a control freak, yeah, but I feel that at least giving up some of this stuff, which is not as important as actually being with the client and educating them and spending time with them, is a good place for me to be. And so I'm really excited about developing a team of like-minded people, though. I want to work with people that have the same philosophy and the same way of doing business that I do, because I think that's important. I want my clients to always feel like they're family.
And I guess kind of on top of that, what do you feel is the best way that you market yourself as a real estate professional so you can have continual growth?
It's funny because if you're a real estate agent, most people know when I say I'm a Buffiniite. There's two kinds of agents in this world, and one is working by referral, and the other is kind of churn and burn. You just pick up new clients at all times. You don't worry about anything other than selling them a property. And I really work hard at marketing myself to my own clients. I get invited to housewarming parties. I get invited to weddings and birthdays for their kids. It's really important to me. Many of my clients have become friends. And so no matter what I do in regards to marketing, I do want to keep up with the times, so I'm building more of a web presence. But it's mostly so that when my clients refer me to their friends, they can check me out and, see what I've done or who I am. But it's most important to me to work with people, who will trust me. So that's the biggest thing that I work on, is making sure that I have a good reputation as being trustworthy.
And Andrea, I think sometimes when people look at real estate agents, they have a certain perception of what they actually do or what they bring to the table, either from a buyer or a seller standpoint. What do you think the biggest misconception or myth that people have about working with a real estate agent?
That all realtors are created equal. I mean, that is so not the case. No matter the market, we have had a crazy, crazy market in San Francisco for the last 4 years. But, experience is really key. It's incredible to me how many new agents are out there, and they really don't know what they're doing. And I think a lot of homeowners nowadays have been thinking, well, my house is going to sell because anyone will buy it. All I have to do is put a sign out. It's why we, for a while, started seeing a lot of for sale by owners. The problem is, even in this crazy seller's market, you really need to know what you're doing. You need to know how to get the right exposure and the extra amount of money for your clients. Not just anybody can do it. Really, a track record is important. Gray hair, quote unquote, not necessarily on top of your head, but just by way of your profile, that's important. I've been lucky enough to get some great deals for my clients in the past few years because of unexperienced agents or unresponsive agents. That's another thing. A lot of agents think, my property's going to sell, so, I'll do a couple open houses, I'll do a couple of showings, and then I'll take offers. But, how you really get the best price for your client is being there as much as possible, showing it as much as possible, so the right person who really wants it puts their best foot forward, not just selling it to anyone because it'll sell, So I think that's really important.
Now, Andrea, let's say you get a call from a family member or a friend, and they're in another state, and they want to sell their home. Obviously, you mentioned you're part of that exclusive group, and you do a lot of referrals, so you're probably familiar with this situation. But from an advice standpoint, what advice would you give them about selecting an agent that could best serve their needs?
Well, I think one thing is talk to your friends, see who they used. I think talking to people who were referred by someone you know is important. But even when you do that, find someone who has a track record, someone who knows their stuff, and someone who you feel really comfortable with. I don't ever make a client sign a buyer-broker agreement. When I sit down with them and I meet with them, I say, look, this is a relationship. Until we find a place, we're going to be spending a lot of time together. It could go quickly, but, it could take a while. And the most important thing is that you feel comfortable. When I call you up on the phone or when I send you an email, if you're like, oh, God, her again, it's not going to work. You have to treat this as a relationship. You have to have confidence in them. So that's really important. Make sure that they're qualified, but make sure you're comfortable and that you trust them.
Excellent. And Andrea, obviously based out of the San Francisco, California area, and if somebody's looking for real estate services or an agent in that general area, what's the best way they can find out more information about you and how you can help them?
Well, for me, myself, they can definitely visit me on my website, which is welcomehomeSS, like San Francisco.com. But I think it's important to do a little bit of homework. Check out reviews on Yelp. See what other people are saying about the potential agent you're going to work with. And then make sure that when you meet with them, you feel the same way. You feel that they can really take good care of you. And relationships are key, no matter what anybody says. That's my opinion.
And obviously, Andrea, we want to thank you for taking time out of your schedule to come here today and share all your professional real estate experience with our listeners. And if you're listening and you want to learn more about Andrea, you can obviously go to our site. Also below this interview, we'll have a link to her site and any other information we have, so you can make contact with her and see how she can take care of you and all of your real estate needs.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.